Well, I think I'm going to try and draw a little bit, despite the fact that I feel like boiled ass. And it's something that everybody should really consider now that I'm considering it myself. I do not draw in a consistent fashion. I'm not consistent. I cannot follow instructions. Shapes and other formal elements mean absolutely nothing to me. And if you've got wacky ADHD brain, you may have the same problem. The way I got around that is by drawing by feeling. Feelings. Now, feelings are much better than having to think things out for somebody in my position because I get tired by intellectual details. In fact, there is a use for all of the formal practices like shape drawing and such, where you draw shapes. But when you're considering those, like my tiny, stupid brain can only handle one thing at a time. So, like, once the instruction list gets to be considering 5 or 6 things at the same time, I can no longer consider 5 or 6 things at the same time. I cannot consider 2 things at the same time. So what I do instead is I douse my way through the picture. Dowsing, some sort of an ancient art where you just kind of poke around with your gut feelings until something alerts you to something or other. So how they would find water, I guess. You'd pick up a stick with 2 handles on it or something, and then you'd let it kind of Ouija board you around, and then eventually you'd find water, presumably, or whatever you were looking for. I think dowsing is used in Asia as some kind of a find anything catch-all. I'm not entirely sure if that's true, but whatever. For the sole intents and purposes of utilizing your brain to its maximum potential, I would believe that you should be able to use dowsing to find the correct art. That's basically all I use it for. Your senses are very, very fine once you learn how to listen to your feelings. When you stop your left brain from trampling all over you, if the left right brain thing is in fact a true thing. There is a narrative in your head that is constantly nitpicking you from the get-go, that is telling you to stop and that you fucked something up, and it doesn't really cooperate with the early part of the drawing phase where you're trying to get something down on the paper. That terror you feel, perhaps, at starting a page of drawings, well, that might just be your quote-unquote left brain giving you shit. And we don't need that kind of noise. So the way we get around it is to stop listening to the intellectual part of your brain telling you that you screwed up, and start listening to your feelings. Feelings. I'll say that as many times as possible because it's very important. You're an artist. You're not some book nerd doing book nerd things. You put that, even if you are in the rest of your life, but you still want to draw, you take your book nerd hat off and you put it down. You put it in a drawer and you close that drawer. And you don't let it out until it's useful, until you need some sort of technical specificity, which I hate to say it in art. Specificity is optional. You can. It's up to you. However distracted you believe you can handle being, by all means. Now, back to the feelings. So feelings are your most important asset in art because from nothing, you can literally discover good stuff. Hey, look, it's a worm. Or, hey, look, it's an alien. Not good examples. But you can take something, a rough shape, and then mold it into something that becomes somewhat representative. Look, see, it's a torso, and it's doing stuff. Isn't that great? But ultimately, you want to be in that state of feeling, constantly probing what you've done for satisfaction. or dissatisfaction. See, one thing about your left brain is that it articulates in a way that isn't conducive to you continuing on your picture. It sticks its foot right up your ass and cripples you. And when you're using your feelings to feel for things that you think might be good or bad, it is nothing but encouragement, man. Because you're feeling, well, your good feelings, hopefully, are the ones you're using to discover in your picture what's good and what's hot and what's not. Know what I'm saying? So in this case, I'm really a stickler for like specificity and like standing poses, or rather, I'm unhealthily obsessed, I think, with the gestural subtleties of things, which ultimately leads me to draw a lot of kind of dull, boring conversational poses. But those are important, especially if you're doing comics and stuff. Like, not everybody has to be, seen from a worm's eye angle, reaching for the stars and having a metaphorical epiphany about, finding out that pizza's on the lunch menu or something mundane. Like, sometimes you just need two people talking to each other, and you need to focus on their faces, which means, which means you need a balance. You need a regular camera angle, and you need things to be quite visible, and ultimately the bodies have to be kind of straight ahead. Sometimes that's important. Actually, oftentimes that's important, depending on what you're doing. So I am always getting. I am always looking for these. How do I put this? These poses are very specific, and you can ruin them very easily. Say you have a manly dude, and his legs look a little too tucked together down here, and it kind of sucks all the masculinity out of his pose because he looks like he's doing a curtsy or something, and like, oh, well, that's no good. So I use my feelings to alert me to this so that I can change certain aspects of the pose so that they match what I need them to portray. Ultimately, like, you can do this with all parts of your drawing. You can do it with backgrounds and stuff. If something doesn't look right in a design, say you need to draw a house or something, and you're like, well, this is the house I've drawn, and well, maybe that's not good enough. And you're like, well, what would make me feel better? Feel better. Operative word, feel. And well, I think maybe here we're gonna put a frame on the house. Maybe we'll turn it into a garage door, and then there'll be a little vent up here. Oh, I like that. I like the feel of that. And then the vents have like this stuff going on, and then maybe there's a bush over here, and then the driveway goes up to the house, this and that. Oh, look, it feels nicer when I have something else adjoined to the house. So like, here's the rest of the house, and I can't fit it in the page, but you get the idea. You just kind of douse your way through the picture, at least in the early parts. The early parts where everything's loose, you can feel your way through everything. And once you have to tighten things up, then it gets boring and you hate yourself. But until that point, sky's the limit, bro. And maybe this goes back here and that goes up there. Maybe there's a door right next to this. Whatever. It doesn't really, not my best work, but I am not particularly sharp today. Not even sure why I'm drawing. But let's see if I can make a nice video out of it. So here we're gonna feel our way through a pose that normally I wouldn't do, and I have no idea what I'm doing. I cannot form a narrative in my head. I've been working for 3-4 weeks straight, and I haven't had a day off, so my brain, it demands the all sleep, and I will go and have the all sleep after I'm done recording this. But until I run out of energy 100%, I will try and put something together here that's very nice. So I'm not paying attention as much as I'm giving the passive impression that I'm doing shape construction. I'm not really fully doing a gesture. And here's where you're going to find sticking points, is right where the perspective starts to jam things together, right around the legs. And now I need to know what exactly I'm drawing. So here is, what kind of a gesture are we looking for here? I don't know, and all I'm going to do is say that feels good. And if it feels good, I'm going to keep it, because that same feeling is the thing that was going to hit you 2 hours after you finished the picture, and you look at it later and you're like, what? Why did I do that? Why did I do that? And, well, it's because your feelings weren't engaged. So let's see here. We're going to use just a little bit of logic, not too much logic, where I'm trying to line up the knees here on a single line and the feet. You can do some of it, just enough, but if you start like getting into a problem because you're too logical, too intellectual, too cerebral about it, you're going to have a bad time, because you're going to start fixing things in accordance with logic when art has goddamn fucking nothing to do with logic. It has to do with feelings. So remember that. Feelings. Let's see here. Another sticking point is, I don't like the way that this head looks all crunched down on the body. Maybe it's supposed to be up a little higher. I don't know, but it feels better when I'm up here making the head a little bit higher. This is a tough angle, man. It's right now his posture is ridiculous. I don't feel good about it at all. But maybe we can justify it with our feelings, by feeling out a number of things that justify it. Let's see here. He's got a weird standing, kind of hips back, chest forward. I don't even know how to explain it. Is there a line running through him? Here's that little tiny bit of logic. Inject a little bit of logic. Is he standing straight up? Yes, he sort of is. I want the hands to go down. Sounds good. There's that. So we've felt out this truly lousy pose, but it is a lot sounder than if I had given up on it, or if I didn't like what I was doing, or if I didn't like it, it was going to look a lot worse. So maybe there is some purpose to this pose, and we can unearth it together. And I'm going to draw my generic guy face on here, and I'm going to give him a shirt. And I'm going to put him up against a wall. Ha-ha, we've done it. We have justified this god-awful pose. So now he is pressed up against a wall, and we can change his arm, and it feels better this way. And normally, if I had more of my wits about me, or if I wasn't talking while I'm doing this, I would be more pensive and thoughtful and planning about the initial intent of this picture. But as I said before, I'm stupid, have tiny brain, can't think of two things at once. It's a miracle I'm drawing. It's a miracle this pencil's moving today, because I have been working real hard. Let's see. So now we've got this guy up against a wall. Looks like he's wearing dumb sweatpants. I don't think I want that. So we're going to try and emulate some pants. And we're going to pretend like he's wearing shoes. And we're going to, I don't know, turn this here. And you look at the picture. You use the eye of Sauron. And you glaze slowly over it. And you're like, which part here looks weird? And once it looks weird, you do something about it by eliminating it or changing it. I am starting to get fed up with this weird horse these horse legs or whatever he's got. I think this needs to be pointed a little bit further that way, because my feelings are telling me so. And I kind of have created an awful generic thing that nobody's going to look twice at. And but it is complete. And this is probably the best I can do in my present mental state. Here's a little more logic. We're going to have this line that makes sure the hands aren't, crazy longer, one arm's longer than the other, because there's all sorts of perspective-y stuff going on here. There's that, and here's that. He's got hands and fingers, and now he's got a mouth, which I like it more that away, I guess. And we're gonna do that. Belch in the microphone. All right, groovy. How's that looking? Looks like something nobody's gonna look twice at, that's for sure. But that's not the point. The point is that you have completed something with as little conscious thought as possible. Conscious thought is exhausting for me. If you have a big giant brain and you can follow instructions of a tutorial and you're very consistent, by all means, don't actually. You shouldn't be watching this video if you're functional. This is strictly a tutorial for non-functional people like myself, where I teach you how to kind of jerry-rig your consciousness into tricking you into being productive when you're clearly incapable of it. But here we go. Look at that. We got a thing here. Maybe we can put some stripes on his pants and draw a thing on his shirt. And then there he's got a wide collar, I guess, because that's kind of neat. And I don't want to make it any better than this, but if you get the basic idea, you can do anything. You can here. Maybe I'll draw something more easy to wrangle, because a lot of times, if you don't have a great design and you just go for the human body's kind of odd looking, like unless you have perfectly idealized proportions and all that, and if you're just trying to draw some guy, like it's fine. But what if we were to draw a hot chick? Oh man. So we're gonna choose a slightly low angle, I guess. What would you call this? Probably around the hips. Let's see. Broad's got to have a sassy kind of a look to her. I like it when their hips. I feel it's nicer when their hips are flopped off to one side. These little paddles I draw for the shoulders. They seem to work real well for spacing the shoulders away from the torso enough that they don't get in the way. And I'm feeling that the rib cage can end around here, and the deltoid muscles go up that way. Not too much. It's a lady. Let's see. I've decided that her posture, her one leg will be inturned a little bit. It's a very lovely and feminine way to stand in a loose and lurid manner. And then we go down here and fudge out some feet and legs and stuff. I guess in a second draft, I would go through probably and tighten up the shape drawings. Once the gesture is in place, it's really not so bad. Like once the gesture is in place, you can put shape construction on that and it'll look much, much better. But this is gesture drawing is really hard, and you have to think up stuff and think up motivations and characters and scenes. Sometimes it's self-propagating, like I do a lot of comics, so I have to draw hundreds of these a day, every single day, of course. But sometimes it's really easy if you're really into what you're doing. But if you're just doing a demonstration where you can't get your brains together enough to do anything even remotely interesting, it becomes a struggle, and you need to be good at that struggle, because if you're going to work and do this as a job, you need to be able to kind of crap things out in a vacuum. And it sounds very depressing, actually, when I put it that way, but it makes you more useful when you're able to make things. It's like training at 100 times Earth's gravity, whereas when you have inspiration and things are neat, and they're stuff you want to do, it's like you're not bound by the gravity of intention, or the gravity of technicality. Your inspiration is fueling you. It's pushing you on and lets you think of things more deeply, and even my tiny brain can can figure out some moderate amount of instruction at that point, because I'm all amped up and my brain can do all sorts of stuff. It makes me real thoughtful. But most of the time, I am a brain dead fish, and I have to putz around doing this crap until something clicks. And once something clicks, then I'm off like a rocket. But you gotta start somewhere, and this is where you start. You start with crap. And this whole video will no doubt be filled with crap unless something changes very drastically. So if kind of my terrible shape constructions led me to just some generic standing pose. We're slightly underneath, and then because it's a chick, I'll actually draw her with eyes that are bigger than dots, and we'll give her a hair, just one hairstyle. And it's going to look stupid. I don't feel like that's a good hair, so I'm going to do a different hair. Here we're going to give her big, pretty hair. Big, bountiful hair. That's nice. And then draw the eyeballs, and then what's even going on here? You tell me. And we'll draw a mouth. Boy, this is really lousy. But it's as good as I can possibly do in my present state. I literally have been drawing for my jobs for 3 weeks straight, 3.5 without a break, and I love doing it. But sometimes the spark of creation just goes away, and I have to hibernate in order to get it back. Because like until I can feel something, because normally drawing doesn't take this long. I could have drawn this in 30 seconds at the top of my game, no matter how boring and generic and whatever it is. Once I have the spark of creation in me, I could feel anything faster, more acutely. It's easy, but right now it's terrible difficulty. It's like pulling teeth, and I believe demonstrating in my worst is a better example than saving it up for when I'm doing a great job, and then I ramp over all the little things that you people who might be trying to learn something are going to need to know. Because I'm riding so high, I'll say, well, then you just do this, and then you just do that, and then everybody's like, well, I don't know what you just did, because the magic in my head was not explained to you. So I'm doing it at my worst, which I could have been, better than I used to be. And my baseline is better than I used to be. It's still not, still nothing I want to. I can't do work in this condition. All my clients have to wait. They have to wait, because I will not draw them something at this level. It's not worth it. Makes me look bad. Makes them look bad. Not a good idea. At any rate, so here we go. We have a chick, and she's standing. And is this pose okay? There's one good way to kind of force your feelings into effect is to flip the picture. You flip the picture. You know what? That doesn't look terrible when it's flipped. Like I think the only thing is that the face is unbalanced or something. Because I drew it totally flat, straight onto the camera. It looks like shit. But you know what? You do a little of this and a little of that. You can kind of fudge it so that it's tolerable. And wow, look at that. Isn't that neat? You can do some of this and do some of that. Look in there. See? I went from absolute, complete crap. Oh, wait. This entire half of the body is not nearly as... Ugh. Yuck. Like this entire half of the body was somehow flattened and ruined because I wasn't paying attention, not feeling as well as I should. So my feelings are impaired. But I mean, you can come up with something. Comes up okay. I bet with a second draft, this would be very serviceable. And even this guy over here, like So now we can flip it back. Actually, you know, this guy didn't look so bad in flip. Like, I mean, there's overlapping that I probably should have considered. Maybe point his arm out a little more if he's going to have his hand visible up against the wall. There, see? Ta-da! Maybe that's better. Feels kind of good, I guess, a little bit. Oh wait, need more logic. There's a line. That's how long his sleeve should be. So I'm following the perspective, maybe, sort of, if I even did that right. So there, you can give her 7 toes, and looks pretty good. Flip it back to normal. Not bad at all, I think. A perfectly serviceable, not that great sketch. But I did it in the absence of all inspiration. I couldn't get inspired right now if you poisoned me. And I pulled this out of the rectum of abject nothingness. And hell, that ain't so bad. So anyways, thanks for watching this video. And hopefully OBS didn't chop up the sound quality like it did with the last 6 videos I did. Alright, have a good day, guys.